Today is September 6, 2022. Coming up on Our Voices, I have two guests today. One was a homeless individual. He is now a business owner. And another guest who is running for public office. This is Our Voices.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Our Voices. I have a very special guest with me. This is a very interesting topic we're talking about. The topic is about homeless. And with me, I have a gentleman. He is a business owner, and his name is Drew Palmer. Drew, how you doing, man?
Blessed, man. Blessed. Figure out this phone. Somebody's calling me here and I don't know what to do.
Just ignore it. Just ignore it.
All right. I'll try it. Yeah, man, I'm doing great today, man. How you doing?
Doing fine. Just waiting for you to come back on.
Everything's good here.
Okay. Just waiting for you to come back on.
Now
I can
you're
hear you, but I
frozen.
can't see you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you. Oh, wait.
Oh,
There you go. There you go. All right. Drew, again,
all right.
thank you for coming on to Our Voices. Again, I appreciate that you coming on and sharing your story. Right now, there's a big hot topic going on. It's a big thing going on in the country is about the homeless situation, especially here in Charleston, West Virginia. And Drew,
Sure.
before I go into my questions, please tell my viewers something about Drew Palmer.
It's Andy Palmer, man, but I go by Drew still. Some people call me Drew. I'm originally from Charleston West Side. I was born and raised in the projects, Little Page Terrace. Lived there 22 years. I was born in 1966 in July, and July 26th, I went home to my apartment in Little Page Terrace. I lived there since 1966. Fathered my first child at 16. We always make jokes that we're from the projects, that we shared the love. I had 3 babies, mothers, and I did the best I could do. And here we are. Lots of ups and downs in my story, band. First crime was committed when I was 12. I robbed a PA Denny for their cash box. Me and a friend was on Magic Island and walked on up the boulevard. He saw the cash box. He took it. I accepted half the money. He got caught. He gave my name. So at 12 years old, the police came to my mother's apartment. And hey, Donnie, can you? Sorry about that, sir.
That's all right.
Oh, sorry about that, man. We're trying to get this thing figured out here. At 16, I witnessed my first murder. It was in a Little Page Terrace's parking lot. It was over crack cocaine. It was actually over me. I started smoking crack cocaine at 16 for the first time, and an argument ensued. That's when the New Yorkers were here. It was really broad-based from out of state. They were here. Finally, the West Side gang members kind of ran them off, killed a couple of them actually, and ran them off. But first day I smoked crack cocaine, I was with this other boy that I grew up with, and they sold it in little capsules, and we liked it the first time, so we went back to get more, and an argument ensued over who would sell me the drugs. And one of them pulled out a gun and shot the guy in the chest twice. His best friend, who was, the gun guy, had the gold necklace off his neck as he was gurgling blood, and the crack out of his pocket, he ran. And I was 16. We ran too. I didn't know what to do. But from that point on, that day on, my life kind of took a very dark turn. Didn't know what to do. Didn't know how to do it, and I was stuck. First, law enforcement as an adult was 18, and then it just a rough ride after that, brother. Did treatment many times, got clean, currently clean 10 years. And, it just is what it is, man. It's just, some of us had a tough life.
Drew, you say that you were homeless at one point.
3 years.
Okay.
3 years.
So let me ask you. So some say that the homeless situation is part of mental health. Some say it's hard luck. Some say folks are just being lazy and just want to live off the system, live off the people. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, it's a multifaceted issue. People end up there for many different reasons, whether it be from broken home, broken marriage, some mental illness is definitely out there, addiction, alcoholism. It's a malady that is multifaceted. It can come from any direction. It kind of depends on what you want to do with it. I mean, a lot of folks fall into a rut and they'll move furniture into that rut instead of shaking it off and getting up and doing the next right thing. So it's just been a really rough time. I was homeless here in the Charleston area for 3 years. I did not hold up one sign the whole entire 3 years asking for a handout. I never, not one day, went to a homeless shelter and asked for help. I basically sucked it up and slept wherever I could. I was tangled in an active addiction to cocaine and anything else that would change my pain, alcohol, and I would rob stores, steal from stores, however I could do to get money for the next fix. So I did a lot of that here in the Canal Valley. I really hurt a lot of businesses and people and families. All my kids are adults. My youngest one's 26, my oldest one's 37, and 5 kids there. And I did a lot of harm there, man. I mean, I never touched my kids, but I wasn't there as a father figure for them. So it was looking back, I was really reckless and had no concern for anybody else except that active addiction. I was really paranoid, a couple of those years, and I would tell myself if I could make it down by the state police barracks, I would be safe to sleep under that interstate bridge on Jefferson Road. If I could get to the mound in South Charleston, I would be safe because I could hear the boogeyman coming up the hill to get me, and I could react. U-Haul trucks, I would stay in the back of U-Haul trucks at the U-Haul centers. I would try to save money for the bus fare, make it to Central Avenue. When the bus would start running at 4 a.m., I would ride to Montgomery, pay again to ride to St. Albans. And by the time I got back to Montgomery again, stores were open and I would start shoplifting. And I would feed my addiction. And I'd wear the same clothes 30 days, brother. Sometimes I wouldn't take a shower for 3 months out there in the street. So it was something that will leave you marked. It's only God's mercy and grace that I made it out of that. You know what I mean? I had to wake up. I had to surrender. And it's really tough. There's a whole different gamut of homelessness going on now.
And what is that? What is that now? The whole different gambit. What is it now? I
was an active addict and a criminal. I knew, I've been shot, been stabbed, I've been done everything to, and it was something else then. But at least everybody knew me. We're inundated now with out of towners who are just coming here. It all started to change when and I don't really want to get into this. It's not political for me. I don't care about politics, but it seemed like whenever they started the free syringes here, that they just flocked by the busloads. New people that we've never seen before in this area. I engage people. I learn who they are. I talk to them. So if something happens in the area, I know who to go look for. If something happens, I've always done that with people, treat them like humans. But there's a different bill of lading on this group of transients. Man, there's a lot of crime being committed. For example, I just did a news interview today. That I was at church this morning, and my pastor talked about a Charleston police officer, a canine officer, getting shot and killed last night. And he looked over at me, and I was kind of like, yeah, I've already heard this, man. It sucks. My wife's cousin was murdered. She was a police officer. And my pastor said, Andy, would you come up and pray for the, Charleston Police Department and their loss? And of course, I listen to my pastor. I go up and pray, and I just ask for a hedge of protection and for these folks to be able to be safe and what have you, and the grief that you're going to feel over this loss of this officer. And I leave there. I take my 13-year-old son with me. I bought an RV, and I had to haul it with my tow truck today. And I went up East Point, and just so happened to be where this incident happened last night. And I'm up there, and the news rolls up on me. They said, would you mind giving an interview about what's happened here? Sure, no problem. The cat that had been murdered, or not been murdered, the one that shot the dog and the police officers killed him just last night. I tried to help him. He was a transient. He was a homeless guy here in the Charleston, West Virginia area. His name was Sammy Ranson. Been to prison, been to jail, 50 times probably, incarcerated in South Central. And I tried to help the cat years ago. Took him to church with me, took him to meetings with me, got him in treatment before. And, all of us have a choice to make. We can choose to do right, or we can choose to do wrong. Well, no matter what choices you make, there's consequences. It's good and bad and bad. If you make a good choice, you get a good consequence, vice versa. So This cat, as I understand it, it was a suicide by cop because he didn't want to go back to prison. So it is what it is. He was a homeless transient here in the Canal Valley. He'd been homeless for years. And he was up there wreaking havoc in a very small community up at East Point Drive. So there's, like I said, there's a whole new breed out here, man. It ain't, hey, can I get a sandwich? It's, hey, if you don't give me money for a sandwich, there might be problems here. So they're very aggressive these days.
Drew, I know you say you don't want to go into the political area, and that's fine, and I understand that. A lot of folks right here have made it political because some have said to Amy Goodwin, she has done nothing with the homeless situation. When folks doesn't really realize that Danny Jones had 4 terms, 16 years, and he has done nothing. So when folks want to get political, and I tell folks, if you want to start pointing fingers, you got to bring his name up also, because again, he had 16 years.
I loathe politics.
Yeah.
If Danny Jones would have ran again, I had already told my wife I was using the property owned on Garrison Avenue, and I was going to get in the race because I live out of the city limits out here, but I have a property on Garrison. I was going to transfer my address to go up against Danny because I watched what he did. Now, he did some good for our city. God bless him, what have you, blah, blah, blah. But he had it all wrong with the homelessness. Amy Shula Goodwin, I have mad respect for her. She was involved with the police department when my wife's cousin was murdered. She was just, that sold me on her. The way that she carried herself throughout the whole incident. Tycoon to great people. It's not a one-person solution that we can seek. It has to be from the beginning of the community to the highest echelon of politicians in our area. We have to work together to find a solution. Now, does Amy have the solutions? Not all of them. Has she tried? Absolutely. She's appointed programs and projects and teams to go out here and find the homeless and get them registered and try to get their mental health. They have a Charleston Police Department team that's a part of that whole thing with Prestera, whoever. And I don't like Prestera either, but I'm not going to rant on that. A lot of people, let me tell you something, who I am. When Danny Jones shut down Tent City, you don't know this about me, sir, but I'm going to let you know. When Danny Jones, you remember the coldest day of the year that year, Danny Jones shut down Tent City. Yeah. I'm the guy who went out. I'm the guy that God hit me in my chest while I was in the warm house, and God said, go, when I saw it on the news media. Well, I'm crazy enough. See, I suffer from some malady that are mental illness as well. But I know the unction of God. I know when he hits me in my chest, I know what that was. I have that discernment. I believe in God. He told me to go. I was like, where, Lord? It's midnight. So the next morning, I went and found 17 of the homeless people from Tent City. I said, man, I got an idea. I caught up man a meal. Put them all on 3 tables, said, I want to do something. I got money. I want to buy hotel rooms to make sure y'all safe. I did that. I went further than that. I started a GoFundMe. I raised money, and I rented a house in South Charleston with the help of that particular landlord. And I moved 12 or 14 of them in there. Everybody that wanted change, wanted help, I moved them in their house. I paid their rent for 6-7 months. And they acted right for a while. And the weather broke, and they wanted back out. It's a mindset, brother. I had them job trainings. I had them everything, man. I was taking the ones to get them their Medicaid insurance so they could get their mental health address and whatever physical malady they had. I wanted to help them out along the way. So I did all that. Even raised money and bought them a couple of houses. By the time the houses, it was 2 little house hour we had rehabbed here. And by the time I come to do something with that, the whole Elkview flood happened. All my homeless folks from over there at my Tent City house that I rented in South Charleston, they all left. So I donated the house to a lady from the flood. She overdosed within 2 weeks on heroin. Thank God I hadn't finished that paperwork, brother. She almost got me for a house, and she was actively using heroin. So, she finished that up herself. So I have a history. I have a past. I was homeless for 3 years. I was a horrible person. I did whatever it took to get that next job. God changed my heart. Now I still want to help people. I try to employ people who come from that background, who have the drive, who have, you can tell, you can listen to their words and you can tell if they want to change. They're not just lip service. You can feel it. I mean, but yeah, it's a whole new breed out here today. And what are we to do? What are we to do as citizens? We're not going to blame Amy. It's not Amy's fault. It's not Amy's fault.
Drew, let me ask you, tell me the day you said you're going to turn your life around and just no more of this. What was that day?
Man, it was a multitude of times in my life, man. First time I was 19, went into treatment. It just sick of being sick, bro. Got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. And you know, it's all we have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. All the self-help programs, Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, all those repeat the same steps. They have the same 12 steps of recovery, and we don't wish to shut the door on the past, but we have to move from it. I mean, we got to move forward, and so it is what it is, man. The last time was 11 years ago when I woke up in jail, and I had to spend 6 months in jail 11 years ago because of my behavior, my active addiction. So I was like, man, I got a chance with this family. I was just recently married, and I'm just tired of running, man. Tired of running. I already had everything it took, man. All these years, all these treatment centers, all these psychiatric units that I've been to, they had given me all the tools that I needed along the way. I've always had the tools as soon as I wanted to change. And I stored them in my toolbox, per se. And when it come time to invoke all that change, I already knew what to do. I had all the stuff to do. Depend on God, talk to a sponsor, get help, get a job, live my life. I mean, stop committing crime, stop being abusive. So there's where we're at today. And I'm not perfect. Please know this. I am not perfect. I am human.
Now, you have gone through the mud. You've been through the fire.
Been to regional jail over 100 times. Been to prison twice. It's been horrible, yeah.
You've been there.
But I'm resilient.
Now you're out. You're a free man, and you are a business owner now.
Yeah.
Tell me about that business.
Well, I've had several businesses. Recently, I had Bowls and Spoons cereal bar. It's a very different, unique perspective for our area. They're in the bigger cities. I wanted to bring a Bowls and Spoons here, a cereal bar. So I opened up Bowls and Spoons on Elk City. Not long after that, I was open 5 months there, and Bream Church across the street decided to open up a homeless drop-in center. And that made it very easy for me to decide to shut that down. Wasn't a whole lot of foot traffic there. Wasn't making a lot of money. So I went ahead and shut the business down. Recently opened up a store similar to Treasure Hunt in Canal City. It's a bin store, $5 bin store. Very successful, man. Very successful store. I got it on hold right now, just trying to see what my business partners will do with me. But my gravy comes from junking cars, man. I own Andy's Junk LLC, and I've done it for about 9 years, and I'm blessed, brother. I mean, I'm blessed. I think that I'm doing a service for our community. I go from Huntington to Montgomery buying junk vehicles. Actually, I think I might have bought one off of you in Dunbar area. And we do what we're supposed to do, man. I keep a couple people working, and just blessed, man. Take care of my family, love my community, love law enforcement. You got to back the blue, man. Cops are not bad people. They're in a business of dealing with bad people, unfortunately. So, they get a lot of misconstruing going on there. So I would like to be a part of a solution who can build a bridge between law enforcement and community. I did that with law enforcement. I was a law enforcement trainer for Charleston Police Department. I'm the only certified gang specialist in West Virginia that's not law enforcement. I had an organization, Chain Breakers, man, where we empowered youth with truth concerning drugs, criminality, and violence. I provided a platform for folks who had went to prison for murder, changed their life, come out, and living a different story. And I wanted the kids to hear that, so they didn't end up where we did. You don't have to go out here and smoke crack and end up in prison. there's a better way. Listen to your parents, man. Don't lie. Suck it up. Do the next right thing. It's not always pretty. Sometimes it's pretty painful, but it's always worthwhile living right, doing right.
Andrew, I have a few more questions. I'm going to let you go.
Yes.
You say that, and I know there's no quick fix solution to the homeless situation. How do you feel about places like some of these churches or these shelters that give out meals? Do you feel that they should shut down?
No, I think that they should leave it to the folks who are doing it best. There has to be a grading scale to see if they're meeting the needs of the folks, or are they just sucking up tax money? Now I come from the nonprofit world, sir. After I got clean in 2000, the nonprofit world is a very, very, very competitive arena. So everybody's fighting over these federal monies, man. And now they're saying collaboration. Well, they started that 10 years ago. It's all about collaboration. The more folks involved in each process, program, project, the more likely you are to get federal funding, state funding. So there's a lot of milking going on, a whole lot of milking going on with the not only the homelessness, but the addiction aftercare stuff. You can even ask the state of West Virginia fraud department, Medicaid fraud department, what else is going on with the homelessness and the addiction. They're investigating a lot of these people who are providing services for these folks who are just writing their names down and chunking up some money and not providing that particular service. So for me, Manamill, keep them on board. They've been doing it 50 years. They're doing the dang thing. You know what I mean? They're very successful. What they're doing, feeding the homeless. As far as them popping up all over the place, I think it's pretty unhealthy. It's providing an environment and enablement. They're con artists now, bro. There's some that have mental illness. There's some that are active addiction, but all of them can get help. Every one of them. Nobody has to go out there and be homeless. There's too many programs right here in the Valley that they can ascertain cleanliness and healthiness and somewhere to a roof over their head. There's all kinds of places that'll help you do that. So we need to find the ones who are doing it right, doing it the best, and keep them moving forward.
Okay. Last question. Well, no, this is the last thing here. So, Drew, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes. What do you say? What do you tell people words of encouragement to get their heads on right? You there?
Yeah, you kind of breaking up a little bit, brother.
Okay. What do you say? Last question. Give me your views. Just give you the final word. Just like words of encouragement to those who will be watching this. What can folks do, like the powers that be, law enforcement, mayor, anybody? What do you suggest?
Absolutely love. Now, listen, I have a background. I have a history. I'm considered a career criminal, brother. It don't bother me. It might bother them, but it don't affect me whatsoever. I'm blessed, highly favored. But I would love for whoever it is doing this to come and get a real perspective. Don't just shoot from your office about what needs done. Put somebody on the team that's been there. I was homeless 3 years and survived, bro. I had to sleep in dumpsters so I wouldn't die in the snow. You know what I mean? So I have that insight. I know that you have to encourage the individual who is homeless. First of all, get to know them. If they're in your community, find out who they are. Ask them their name. Ask them where they're from. Find out their story. They're going to say something in that story that you can use that'll encourage them to step up out of the hole they're in and climb back up to healthiness. They're not bad people. I mean, there's a percentage who's criminal transients who's here wreaking havoc. Like on the west side currently, they're doing break-ins. There's business people up there buying these buildings and rehabbing them, and people are coming in and stealing all the supplies and tools. That's not cool. We have to stop that as community members. The cops can't do nothing on their own. They can only have Bible information, know where a suspect is, know what happened, just so much that needs done. But in order to encourage the homeless, you need to meet them. You need to greet them. You need to tell them that there's a different way. And, go from there, man. You just got to go from there. But it's not up to the mayor of Dunbar. It's not up to the mayor of Charleston. Sure, now, if you can tap into some funding to help some programs that we're developing out here, let's get there. I mean, but I'm really concerned about the Charleston area, the whole Canal Valley, Dunbar area, with this malady, man, because like, fine example. This cat was a homeless transient that shot a canine last night. He was a homeless transient here that had been here forever, running around, running from warrants, stealing, drugging. What do we do about him? When we know he's got a warrant, we see something, we say something. We call law enforcement, say, hey, the cat's here. Come get him. Let him go up the road for a minute. And I was up the road. I got better up the road. And I come home with a different mindset. So whatever it takes, man. If they're committing crimes, arrest them. There is no forgiveness like that. If they're committing crimes, arrest them. Let them get that time in, period.
Andrew Palmer, thank you very much, man, for coming to Our Voices. I appreciate it, okay?
Yes, sir. God bless you.
All right. Don't go anywhere. Hold on. Welcome back to Our Voices. I have another special guest with me. She is the daughter of a city councilman here in Charleston, former city councilman of Charleston. Her name is Miss Malyka Knapp-Smith. Malyka, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Ray. Thanks for having me this morning.
Good.
I have my coffee, so it's good.
There you go. Okay. Hey, listen, before we go any further, I want you to make the announcement of what you're doing. I don't want to take that thunder from you.
Don't take my thunder, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I have decided to follow in my father's footsteps and run for city council for representing the same ward, Ward 8.
All right. And of course, then you're running as an independent, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So again, welcome to Our Voices. Welcome back again. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story. And again, we're going to talk about what your plans are for the city of Charleston, West Virginia. But before I go any further, please tell the folks something about Malyka Knapp-Smith.
Well, as my campaign slogan says, born and raised in Ward 8. So I grew up here in Charleston, graduated from West Virginia State University. Go Yellow Jackets, right? And and I'm a teacher here. I teach English as a second language to adults. I used to be a Spanish teacher in public schools, so I'm kind of carrying on a lot of family traditions as a teacher and now a politician in the making.
There you go. Okay. All right. Now, let's get this started. You're running for Ward 8, City Council. Tell me, in your opinion, the landscape of the current politics, the current landscape of city council, in your opinion? Are you pleased with it? Are you disappointed? Or tell me your thoughts on it.
I'm hopeful. I think things are going in a good direction. But I think, of course, Robert Sheets, who took the helm once my father passed, he and Dad were very good friends. And so when the primaries rolled around, I wasn't real keen on running against him because of his friendship with Dad. But I still had that bug, that itch to help make our ward and the city something I could be proud of and continue to call home.
Malyka, when we look at, as we're thinking about politics, we look at your father's legacy while in office. Your father was the voice of reason, especially under the Danny Jones administration.
Yeah.
And let's say, we're gonna be blunt, Danny Jones was an asshole towards your
Yes,
father.
he was not kind to my dad at all.
Why is that? In your opinion?
In my opinion, I think it could have been the sense that he knew he couldn't be my dad in terms of character. And I think he looked at my father as someone that he wished he could be. And for some people, when that happens, they tend to tear people down. And I think, in all honesty, I think that's what Danny Jones was doing, was trying to discredit my dad in any way possible. It's sad that, people turn to that, but I think that's really what his goal was.
So tell me this. So you are following your dad's footsteps, going into public office. And what would you like to do if elected in office?
I think one of the main goals that I really would like to do is improve citizen involvement. Particularly in our ward, we do tend to have low voter turnout. And that for a myriad of reasons, least of which is transportation. But I think the main thing that I would like to work on is try to find a way, and there are two other ladies running for council here on the East End, that the three of us vow that if we are all elected, we're going to try to find a way to get a grocery store on the East End.
Now, please tell the folks, give a visual of Ward 8. Where's that located in Charleston?
Ward 8, the easiest way to describe it is starts from Northgate, comes down Greenbrier Street to Washington Street. Then Washington Street and Piedmont Road all the way, and it kind of weaves around the East End, tucks back into like Thompson Street, goes all the way down to Court Street. So it's a lot of the flats of the East End.
Now, since the legislature, Republican-led legislature, since they have redrawn the maps, the redistricting,
right?
Is that are you describing the new?
That is the most recent reconstruction, yeah.
Okay.
Because we used to go all the way to Elk River, and we had the high rise there, the apartments across from the Marriott, and it used to go all the way down through there, but it now is truncated just before, right on Court Street, just before Martin Luther King Center, which is where we used to go vote. Now we'll be voting at Garnet.
So now, switching gears here. So now you point out the polling place where they can go.
Mhm.
Okay, what's your plan into getting folks to turn out and vote? Because we know one thing in particular, and I'm still stuck on this. I'm totally stuck on this. I'm like a broken record. This past primary, it's like a 25 to 28% voter turnout within
Right.
Democrats,
Mhm.
you know. And I know that, again, when the political season, we come down the stretch to election day.
Right.
And I'm going to interview more candidates, and we're going to talk about this, you know, the voter turnout issue. And again, it
Yeah.
is very
It's a
important.
problem.
Yeah, because on the political landscape, I mean, we're on the verge of something that's devastating,
Yeah, scary.
you know. So I say to folks, if you're saying that you're not going to vote because of this person or because of that ideology,
Mhm.
that just doesn't make any sense. And especially coming from African American, again, we look at the history books, we look at the videos and movies where folks have died, have sacrificed, you know, bled and sweat and, you know, and cried just to have the right to vote.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, for them to wanting to say, okay, I'm not going to vote because of this, it is really shameful. And again,
It's
they're turning their back,
undemocratic.
they're turning their back on the folks who have paved the way for you
Right.
and I to go to a polling location.
And then they complain.
Yes, they complain. And I tell folks, you know, I hear them
Don't
complain.
vote, keep your mouth shut.
And no, I don't tell them to keep their mouth shut. I don't tell them that. They
Well-
complain. They complain. And I ask them, "Did you vote?" No. Then shut the hell up. That's what
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
you know. You can say, "I'll tell them shut the hell up." One of the most glaring problems that the city of Charleston is facing is the drug activity.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts on that, and what do you suggest to curb this? Because again,
Yeah.
go ahead, you explain that, and
No,
I'll get to my part. Go ahead.
No, it is a very big problem. You know, Charleston has been riddled with a drug epidemic, because we have 3 interstates that merge into the city. So we get a lot of traffic from Detroit, Chicago, et cetera, and from all directions. And I think I don't really have an answer, or, you know, a lot of people are talking about revisiting the needle exchange. I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around all of it. I think if we could, there are a lot of facets, because if we had jobs that were available, if we could find a way to get people's records put in a way that doesn't prohibit them from getting jobs. You know, we have a lot of people who are felons for things that, you know, could easily not be a felony or shouldn't be. You know, and the group that has endorsed me, Charleston Can't Wait, they're doing a big campaign right now to try to decriminalize marijuana. If that will help fix, I think that could fix some things down the road, because it will keep our jail population down and can bring some good tax-based money to the city. But, you know, there's so many people that are against it and think it's, you know, too progressive, too, you know, liberal or whatever. And so I like I said, I just kind of stay away from that discussion. But in terms of helping the city with the drug problem, I don't know what the answer is, and I'm not really sure how to fix it.
But you're willing to work with.
Oh, absolutely.
But-
I
but-
want to
but
work
you-
with other city council folk, with the mayor, with the police department, with anybody to try to come up with a plan, a solution. And as a teacher, I've taught middle school and high school's kids who have been affected by the problem. And I work in adult education now. And while I don't personally teach them, I'm watching people that are going through recovery and rehab and are homeless because they got into drugs and lost everything, their family, their job, and they're trying to rebuild their lives. And if we could find a solution, work together in the community to find a solution, I'm all for it.
You mentioned that other word, homeless.
Yeah.
Homeless. Now, my previous interview was with Andrew Palmer. And
Oh, yeah.
he spoke in volume. I mean,
Mhm.
it
His
was,
story is amazing.
his story is amazing. And I'll tell you what, I mean, it just, yeah, wow. The homeless situation, is really, really bad here.
Yeah.
It's at a point where folks were coming from buses
Mhm.
to come here to, I hate to say it, set up camp,
Right.
Yeah. And then you have folks who, I should say it, you have other folks, that want to badmouth them. They want to ridicule them and
Mhm.
just kind of persecute them.
Right.
If elected to city council, Malyka, what type of plan would you have in place to try to turn this homeless situation around?
Well, interestingly enough, in this ward, we have, of course, Covenant House, the men's shelter, and many other places that are helping the homeless in our area. And where my job is now, of course, we were in Garnet Career Center. We've now moved, since Garnet was closed by the county, we've moved to another building, used to be the United Talent Building on Leon Sullivan Way, just at the underpass, at the exit ramp for Leon Sullivan. And every morning I'm now driving by the homeless encampment that is under there. Every day I see it. And there's a guy that his family with children sleep in their car in our parking lot. So it's up close and personal with me now in a way. I've seen at Garnet, we had to put a fence around our parking lot because people were walking through and dropping their drug paraphernalia and all that kind of thing. I think if elected, my goal would be to work alongside the CPD and recovery places, shelters, and try to find a way to streamline it so that people are not living in these conditions, and find a way to help them. And, we have a lot of services, and a lot of people come, as you said, by bus because we have the services we offer in the city. But I think we've got to find a way to reach out to folks and help them understand. You mentioned Andrew Palmer. His story astounded me the first time I met him. And it's people like him that we can reach out to as city council folk and as city officials, find out what it is that folks can use and need, and use him as a resource and a tool and a spokesperson. You know, say, hey, these are the things that the city can offer. And we just have to make it known, make it available, and do our best by these folk, because they deserve that second chance.
Malyka, Regatta came back.
Yep,
And
it did. It came back in full fashion.
Full fashion, yes. Tell me, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it, of course, when I heard about it, it brought back a lot of memories of my childhood. It was, you know, I'd go down there with my friends in junior high and high school and hang out and go to the concerts and stuff. And it was a good flashback of my childhood here in Charleston. So I didn't get a chance to go to anything this year, but I definitely plan to and fully support its return.
Now, you do know if you are elected, you have to be there.
Oh, I know.
You have to.
I have to show my face.
And I'm sure that Mayor Amy Goodwin will probably handcuff you to her and keep you there with her.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all.
What are some other things that you would like to see take place in Charleston for the better?
I think we need to really liven up the community feel of things. And a lot of people talk about, we've had so much violence lately, particularly on the West Side. What I think one of the things that I would like to do, and even in my own community, in my own ward, get people to understand that this is our city and we have to take ownership of it. And if we want to make it better, we have to put boots to the ground and make it happen. And, you know, I think we tend to have become so isolated. And I think particularly with the pandemic forcing us into isolation, now it's like we're kind of coming out from behind the curtain trying to say, is it safe? You know, so I think if we can recreate that community feel where we take ownership. You know, I remember my dad talking about growing up in St. Albans. He grew up in Amandaville, and that was like a little village in and of itself. All the kids would play together in the streets, and street lights came on, they went home. You know, I know a lot of people probably don't feel that safe in some places anymore, but if we could I would like to see our city become the community I know it has the potential of being, where we all help each other and work together to make it what we want it to be, instead of sitting back and complaining about it.
I have a few more questions, then I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
Speaking of the West Side, we know that there are some pockets in the West Side that they're not getting the resources that they need.
Yeah.
What say you?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think there needs to be when I talk about the community feel, there needs to be a sense of trust between law enforcement and the citizens. That when we see police officers driving down the road or riding their bikes or whatever, that it's more about, we see all these videos on Facebook of cops stopping and shooting hoops with the kids, or, doing something to say, hey, I'm not the bad guy here. And, I know that Chief Hunt has a lot on his plate. It's a city with very few resources to try to make things work. But I think if I don't know, every part of the city has its own issues. You know, the West Side, I think, has been highlighted quite a bit because of all the recent shootings and violence and things. And it historically has had issues like that, but it happens in my ward as well, on the East End. So I don't really know what the answer is, but I think if we can make a community feel and get people to realize that they matter, you know, that their voice matters, their vote matters. And if they want things to change, they have to bring people into the fold, like those of us running for council that want to make that change. And then work with us to, you know, come out and vote, get their neighbors to vote, get people who, you know, find a way to get transportation to the polls. I remember working the Obama campaign in 2008, and we rented vans from the airport and ran shuttles from Little Page and Orchard Manor to get people to the polls. And we need to go back to that to really get people involved.
Okay. If I did not ask anything about this, I'm asking you now. You mentioned something about a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, what I mean, what would you do? How would you go about doing that? Because again, yes, the grocery store is well needed, especially on the East End.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at it from on a map, you know, there's the West Side, and then anything east, it's either, as people call it, the Gucci Krogers in Ashton Place,
Yeah.
or the one in Canal City.
Well, there's also the Piggly Wiggly on Spring Street.
Okay.
So I mean that's on the back side of our ward. It's not, that one's not in our ward.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I'd have to do is what I guess I'm planning to do is kind of do a feasibility study, figure out what properties are vacant that the city owns, like, for example, where the Burger King used to be here on the East End, beside the Walgreens. Lots like that where there has been a commercial space that would be big enough. The problem, I think, is to find a place big enough that has space that they can have a parking lot, and also finding a store that would be willing to come into the space. My dad tried his darndest when he was on council, and they had one locked in and the guy backed out right at the last minute. I think it was going to be a fast check. But I think I plan to reach out to places, you know, like the Fast Check or Aldi's even, and reach out to their corporate office and find out how much land it requires for one of their stores, and what they're looking for, because we have a grocery store desert on the flats in the East End. And with folks that may not have transportation and have to get the KRT, it's hard to lug those groceries. So, you know, we've got to find somewhere that is accessible and has the space for a chain to go. And I think that's going to be our challenge.
2 words: Whole Foods. Whole Foods.
Whole Foods would not make it here.
Whole Foods. Come on now.
Hey, I'm all for it, but you know the cost of that stuff.
No, not that bad. Maybe.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. You know,
for us, not, but for others, it could be a little challenging.
all right. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Malyka, before I let you go, again, you're running for Ward 8 City Council as an independent.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. I'm going to give you 2 minutes And this is your campaign speech. I don't have
My
the
campaign rollout speech, because I haven't done much yet.
I don't have the music. Dun, 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 dun. I don't have that music, the background music.
Don't need it,
Okay, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes. You ready?
I guess.
I'm gonna give you some time to think about it.
I'm ready.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Go.
All right. Well, as I said at the top of the show, I am a Ward 8 guppy. I've been here from the get-go. Born and raised, I have seen a lot of things come and go and change, and I think it's my turn I feel that it's my turn to step into the ring and get into the melee and try to make things better and, keep the good things going and figure out how to improve on what needs improved and do the best I can and to serve and represent the people of the ward. I don't really know what else to say other than
Okay.
please be sure to go vote in November.
All right. Malyka Knapp-Smith, thank you very much for coming to Our Voices. You take care, be safe.
Thank you for having me.
All right.